Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this annual event in the last 2024 review the sample beat hosted by Charlie and Charlie, the author of this channel, rapper, producer, and whatever you want to say. Yes, as the title of this video suggests, of course, we are in the final session and the final edition of the review sample beat which I held since 2021 until 2024. So from previous edition, there have been many beat review that we have made from email submission on charvisual@gmail.com, various music producers started from the worst and still worse too. Because of that, the previous beat submission were indeed the wishes of music producer who were willing to review the beat sample they had. Of course, in order to have feedback and knowledge in terms of character of music, tempo, element, use edit, and I give a rating in the form of number to find out how far and clear the beats they have made are good or not at all. And we are at the top in this edition of the beat sample review, which indicate this segment is coming to end. But don't be sad because this is not the end of everything. I just want to create diversity in every content I present without losing it and maintaining it authentically. Maybe in years later you can see this series as a nostalgic classic because maybe you miss this content like this again. Yes, probably. So in fact, regardless of whether this beat sample is good or bad, it's become our shared knowledge in the process of recognizing what the element or character of music are like in the present and the future. Okay, let's go straight to the sample beat that have been sent via email to charvisual@gmail.com. In this edition, we will review 10 beat sample that I haven't opened yet and haven't heard what they sounds like. So without further ado, let's review the sample beat. Okay, the first one is entitled Ice Hell. From the title, it looked like we'll be given something cold and cruel, maybe. This is the first time I've seen a song title that too obvious and not interesting. Let's hear it. Okay, West Coast gangster rap. There's a lesser element behind it. Okay, on to the verse. There's all bells too. Yes, the format is very gangster rap. Okay, enough. Okay, this first beat sample is quite cool and really the format of West Coast gangster rap, of course, remind me of YG songs in 2013 entitled My Hera featuring Jeezy and Rich Homie Quan. By the way, rest in peace to Rich Homie Quan, friends. And from the intro, it's clear that it's a West Coast rap format, like from 90s, like Eazy-E era, and you need to know that the element of these minor bells really fill the space of the cold side of West Coast rap. Then from Tracklist to reverse, I don't like it because it's too market and cheap. Yes, it's often exploited too easily, so it doesn't look very attractive. Yes, overall this sample beat is not my top at all, so I give rating 5.0. Next. Okay, let's continue with the second one entitled Papapa. From the title, it looks like really a real baby, doesn't it? It is something like the format of the baby version of Playboy Cardi. Let's hear it. Okay, the second beat sample this time is quite interesting. From the start, the atmosphere is happy and seems like this vocal sample has a really revealed this vibe because it has the sounds of a vocal gang, like the songs The Chordate, Mr. Sammy in 1954. If I'm not mistaken, continue to have a songs like The Chordate, Lollipop. This is typical barbershop music, right? If you don't know, barbershop music is a group consisting of 4 singers with a singer for each vocal part, and this was very popular in the 50s and below. Modern example include Young Gravy, Mr. Clean in 2017 use a barbershop music sample like this. From intro to the verse, it's very simplistic and the mood still doesn't change. I like the 5 key of the piano, it suits the ambience, and earlier there was a percussion drum beat that was quite feeling from the beat itself. Yes, overall this beat sample is very interesting and good, so I give rating 7.5. Next. Okay, let's get to the third beat sample entitled Wonders. Does it match the title? Let's hear it. Okay, more classical music at the beginning, using girl vocals, violin samples. Okay, entering the verse. It looks smooth. Minor piano, minor accompaniment.
If you want this beat from BT808, then pay for it.
Okay, enough. Yep, okay, let's continue with the third beat sample using the same classic song sample format as the second previous one. In the term of the sample, I'm not sure what language it is. It sounds like French, right? But I like it. Then the drop transition in the verse is quite good because it is still in harmony with the violin, a piano accompaniment in the key of E minor. There's a thin bit filter and doesn't come to a beat. Then there's a very small bell sound as a background, adding in a dark impression but not too clear. Okay, overall for this third beat sample, the ambience is still not clear, but I like it, the sampling, so I'll give rating 6.0. Next. Okay, number 4 entitled Lyfe. From the writing, it sounds like Yeet songs. Let's listen to it. Okay, what the fuck? This is kind of version of Yeet, right? The scene at the beginning, the shaggy element is a bit disturbing. Okay, drop to the verse. Is it not really bad? But not really good. Okay, enough. For beat sample this time it's a little disturbing because the ambience in the intro looks futuristic but empty. There's no clear space and there's our added harsh element that are less clever in their use. I understand this is a Yeet musical production and passing element of very future ambience but not mixed well, and the results are still very poor. It would like it's at the 90s BPM. Sorry, this is not my type. This is really ugly. It's like chewing gum, so I just throw it away because it doesn't taste good. So overall, from this 4-beat sample, I give a rating 4.0. Next. Okay, let's continue with the 5th beat sample entitled Diego. It is like Latin music. Let's hear it. Okay, the mood is dark again. Oh my god. A rather voice first enters. There's an element of bird chirping. Energy doesn't match. A triple drop, but not too fast. Okay, enough. Okay, here's the 5th beat sample. It's really bad. The energy of the 5th beat is very confusing. At the first, he used a minor technique, but after entering the verse first, the ambient immediately changed drastically. Very not good. I don't like it. In market term, I don't know who the inspiration for the reference came from. Very unclear. Plus there is a sounds of element chirping like a bird, which is very poorly placed. This is so bad. I don't think it can be made into soundtrack because it kind of premature and finished demo. Yes, overall I give a 5th beat type rating 4.0. Next. Okay, onto the 6th beat sample entitled Final Fantasy 2. What is the type of beat of the Final Fantasy game? And according to this edition of the beat sample, the final, let's listen to it. Okay, at the beginning of the fade in and the fade out sounds, the ambience is empty again. Okay, onto the drop verse. Okay, the energy is still normal. Yes, that's enough. Okay, this 6th beat sample is a little more sane than the previous one because at the beginning it was very polite to enter your ears, typical lo-fi energy music for studying or calm mood. Then it intro the verse. This was fade in and the fade out sounds that was a bit of folk. You could say this is enough to be a musical accompaniment in the game, I think, because it just fit the energy. Actually, this is not typical for rap and hip hop music because it's very soft. It's good for instrumental accompanying music only, so that the original is maintaining without being remixed or anything like that. This is not my typical music. This is kind of the like YouTube library music that is licensed for free, royalty free. So overall, this 6-bit sample I give rating 6.0. Next. Okay, let's get to the 7-bit sample entitled Care guitar version. Let's listen to it. Okay, more ambience music at the beginning. That's polite. That's the right scene energy. Okay, the guitar sounds start to come in. So it feels like alternative hip hop, right? Okay, enough. Yes, the 7-bit sample this time is very same as the previous 6. The ambience and mood at the beginning is very polite. At the beginning, it's so slow progress. Then there was a sounds an electronic guitar in the background. My mind went straight to the Lil Peep music. It's very alternative hip hop because the basic element of Lil Peep songs is the electronic guitar that accompany the entire songs, like bass truck, save that shit, etc. That's enough. The reference is toward Lil Peep. The 7-bit sample can be filled with the slow ballad rap vocal because the energy is suitable for that. Yes, it's good overall. On this 7-bit sample, I give a rating 7.0. Next. Okay, moving to the 8-bit sample entitled Legacy. What do you want to inherit? Let's listen to it. Yes, the sound of the guitar in the beginning. Okay, triple beat. Enter the verse. Okay, sample of female focus like Japan maybe. Okay, enough. Yes, okay, this 8-bit sample is quite interesting. At the beginning, chop in technique from the guitar is presented about 4 times. Then without further ado, go straight to the verse. Using the triple drop technique are quite good. Those of you who are still confused or again using vocal sample from another language, I think Japanese, and the piano music in the minor key also has the same energy. It's not messy and stay normal at the same BPM. Increasingly, there's actually many who use the chop in technique in a sample vocal from songs in other languages, and that's interesting to experiment with in digital audio workstation, whether it's from Latin, Japanese, Chinese. The point is the classical music from various countries can be legally used. Okay, this 8-bit sample this time is quite interesting. Yes, this drop usually used by Lil Durk. Overall, I give a rating 6.5. Next, let's move on to the 9 sample beat entitled Enquire. Let's listen to it. Okay, distorted synth. Into the first and the drop. That's a poke element. Whoa, the bass drop is quite loud, isn't it? Okay, enough. Okay, the 9-bit sample this time, I think it's just a normal, not too interesting, but at the beginning I tried to digest to it, inclusion of elements such as the sounds of the siren, which had been compressed so it was very small. Then into the verse, the drop is used very hard. Regarding the energy problem of this type of beat is still unclear what the mood is like, and then I heard the elemental sounds like poking after the bass drop. That's quite the energy of the beat sample, I think. I don't think this 9-bit sample is very interesting because the direction of the mood and the ambience is not very clear, so it is like confusing. So overall I give a rating 5.0. Next. Okay, let's move on to a review of the last bit sample entitled Weak, whether the ending is sweet or not. Let's hear it. Okay, the initial ambience of the intro is good. Okay, this kind of rap melody. Okay, getting to the verse. It's pretty good. Okay, enough. For this last sample beat, the ambience seems to be taking the direction of 2000 R&B genre. Starting from the sample beat is like very soft, so it's suitable for the rap melodies, whose vocal can be built like NBA Youngboy, whose very abstract vocal or melodic version of Drake. This is the answer. Then the drop at the beginning also interesting because it doesn't lose energy like the intro, so it remains normal. I think this is sweet beat sample even though the title is not sweet. This shit content of the last sample beat has a calm and balanced energy. So overall from this last beat sample I give rating 6.5. Okay, from the beat sample that we have reviewed one by one from 1 until 10 in the peak of the final edition in 2024, there are still the slightly good category even though I have concluded that there are only 2 beat sample that really stole my attention entitled Papapa and Wonders. There are some form from sample and chop in technique which are very good in my personal opinion, even though there are no significant beat that very interesting that have been sent to by email charvisual@gmail.com, but at least there's some good one. All the beat sample that have been sent are really very simple and easy to copying and format and production technique. All the term is very marketable and cheap to sell. I hope this is not too bad ending to the beat sample that was submitted to the email charvisual@gmail.com. I appreciate the process every producer who has tried their best to make it impression on me. I hope that it can be improved and evolved again, so that of course a beat like this can reach their respective market. Yes, I thank all producers who are willing to send their beat sample until we are in the final edition of this event and the review the sample beat segment. Hopefully we are get all knowledge and entertainment, which next year will become a classic event that can be remembered and remembered by those of you who watch the authentic program that I made from 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Charlie and Charvy. See you again in another interesting segment only on this channel, youtube.com/Charvy. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video. I'm here for you. Stay tuned, baby. Bye bye. I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. For the next year, I'm not reviewing the sample bit.